Hello wonderful world, and welcome back to another video where I'm going to share my thoughts about a motorcycle. In other words, it's a motorcycle review. The motorcycle in question is the Honda CB500X. So shall we begin? Let's start with its aesthetics. Here's a little photo shoot I did of the CB500X that was under my control. I rode it well, I rode it hard, and I think I rode it enough to gauge what kind of bike this truly is. So with my reviews, I don't come in front of the camera, mostly, because you want to know about the bike, not me. Secondly, I try to review older bikes, because I think new bikes, when they're reviewed, they're in pristine condition. You rarely find any faults. So I review bikes that have done their tenure, have been through the wars, have mileage clocked on them. This particular bike, 150,000 kilometers. Now that's going to tell me if this bike holds its own over a period of time. Let's begin the review. So I'm going to start with the positives of the CB500X. And the first one is, put simply, this is a very, very versatile bike. It's really easy to maneuver, and I believe as a starter adventure bike, this is probably a great investment to make. It's comfortable to ride, it's great for commuting, it's great for touring, and I guess one could easily do light off-road adventures on this, which I will do during this video. It's a Honda. What can I say? Honda in itself, the name carries this image of reliability, great design, and a solid build. And I can't deny that is the case. Fuel efficiency. It's a 500cc, so it's pretty fuel efficient. I think this, from what I've been achieving, gives me something around the 65 to 70 miles per gallon, which is pretty good, though I do massage the throttle very carefully. Something I should have mentioned earlier, the reason I do older bikes is that most people buy used bikes. Budget constraints means that the majority of people who ride bikes do not buy brand new.
This is the path, the motorcycle, or the route that I'm taking. It says it's just for dirt bikes. So I'm not sure if this will do the trick, but I'm going to try and see how far I can go. If I turn back, I haven't got a place to do a U-turn, so I'm going to try to go forward and see how far I can go. Try to do this path on motorcycle, but there's rocks in the way that prevent me from going further, and I think it is a hiking trail rather than a motorcycle trail. So I'm heading back, but the only problem is I haven't got a place where I can turn the bike around, so it's sort of going in reverse slowly downhill on gravel. Dangerous isn't appropriate a word. The drop down the bottom is quite vast. Not that I'm hoping to drop, I'm hoping to stay on ground.
Finally back on a wider, sturdier road. Anyway, that was a bit gnarly up there, but let's carry on with the review. Now, I gave some positives, and I think it wouldn't be fair if I didn't offer you the negatives. First one, the suspension. It's pretty soft, and I find that sometimes when I go over potholes, it hits bottom. To prevent bottoming out, one could go slower over potholes, but I find that sometimes really difficult to do. Other negatives are vibrations. When this hits around 70 miles per hour, close to 120, 110 kilometers, it does start to vibrate through the pegs. And this is something a lot of owners have complained about. When you look at forums, this is something that's mentioned quite frequently. Now, this is a comfortable bike when you do short distances, but over long distances, I think the stock seat is just a little too firm. It's uncomfortable. Easy fixes to put a cushion on top, or better still, is to replace the seat with a gel seat. I think with most adventure bikes, most manufacturers should put gel seats as standard. Unfortunately, they don't, so this will always be a bugbear for me. The other problem I've had with this bike is the fact that the windscreen though looks really nice, it doesn't do the job you'd want a windscreen to do properly. Again, another fix is to get an aftermarket windscreen and correct that problem, but it would be nice if Honda had done that from the factory. Last issue I would want to share is the noise from the clutch. Now, when it's moving, you don't hear it because, well, you're moving, and I guess the sound that you hear is more the engine, which overbears every other sound. But on idle, the clutch does make a kind of crunching, rattling noise, which isn't very comfortable. You kind of think, if you're a novice to riding, oh my god, something's gone wrong with the bike. But actually, nothing has. It's just this idle sound that this bike makes. Having said that, and all the positives and negatives put together and thrown in one cauldron, what comes out is still, overall, a very good bike. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I would say this is probably one of the best adventure bikes you can get as a starter adventure. If budget is a problem, then this is not the cheapest 500cc you can get. There are other 500cc bikes that also double up as adventure bikes, which are way cheaper than this. But if you're new to adventure riding, the lighter the bike, the better and more confident you will feel. And this is a very light bike.
So folks, I'm going to go down some stairs because that will be one way of checking out the suspension on this bike. Oh, wow. Whoa, that's riding down some stairs. I've always wanted to do that, ride a motorcycle down the stairs, because you see that in movies, but trust me, those weren't very steep stairs and it was tough. So those movies, they fake it. The bloody flakers. Fakers, flakers. They're both of them. But anyway, that was that. Let's get back on the road and head to our next pit stop.
Those steps just proved the front suspension is far superior than the rear suspension, but overall the bike handled itself well. Recently I did a review of the TRK 502X, and I found that bike to be a lot more comfortable than this bike, bar the fact that it's top heavy. This bike has all its weight at the bottom and feels light as a feather.
It's not too bad. I thought it would be a lot worse, but maybe it was supposed to be made into a tarmac road. But there is a lot of 4x4 safaris that operate in this region.
Whilst I ride and enjoy some off-road tracks, let me share with you the specification sheet for those like me who love the nitty-gritty of every bike they ride. Here it comes. Wait for it. So in conclusion, what I would say about this bike is those that already own it know how good it is. Those that are considering it should consider others, but if they stick with this, they've made a great choice. I would throw in the mix, the TRK 502X, but overall, as a starter, this probably is an easier bike to manage. Thumbs up to the CB500X, especially this one. At 150,000 kilometers, it still felt as though it was in its infancy. No middle age or retirement for this bike anytime soon.
Oh, now the track gets a little more gnarly, a little more tougher. One thing I don't want to do is drop the bike. Not because it can't handle it, it's got engine guards that can handle a drop. It's just feeling really tired, and even though there are ways to get the bike up, and I'm sure I would be able to pick this up if I dropped it, it just zaps the energy out of me. And to be honest, I don't really want more energy zapped out of me. I'm pretty much zapped as it is with the heat.
That's my whining over and time to go. Take care everyone. God bless.